Welcome back to Worth Coin, where today we're diving into some jaw-dropping treasures hiding in plain sight, the kind of coins that can turn a dusty old box in the attic into a life-changing payday. We're talking about ultra-rare Kennedy, half dollars from the UK that most people overlook, yet collectors are willing to pay small fortunes for. Some of these coins have sold for prices that will leave you speechless, climbing well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stay with me, because you might just discover you've been holding on to one of these legendary pieces without even knowing it. And if you love uncovering hidden treasures and shocking coin values, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss our next big reveal. Our first coin might look like any ordinary Kennedy half dollar at first glance, but this 1983 piece in fine condition hides a story that could knock you right off your chair. The year 1983 was one of the most intriguing for coin collectors because, unlike many other dates, these half dollars were not released into general circulation in large numbers. The U.S. Mint produced them mainly for collectors, and as a result, finding one today in this condition is nothing short of a miracle. Look closely, you'll see the classic left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, his hair finely detailed, the word Liberty framing the top, and the date 1983 sitting boldly below his neck. The reverse still proudly carries the presidential coat of arms, the heraldic eagle with its shield, arrows, and olive branch, surrounded by United States of America and the denomination half dollar. But here's where it gets exciting. Some of these 1983 half dollars have subtle minting quirks that collectors absolutely drool over. A few came out with light double strikes on the lettering, barely noticeable without magnification. Others have an unusually sharp strike because they were struck with fresh dies intended for collector sets. In rare cases, an off-center strike or a clipped planche from this year has surfaced, and those have sold for breathtaking amounts. Even a standard fine-condition 1983 half dollar can fetch $25 to $40 from the right buyer, simply because so few survived circulation wear. But in uncirculated condition, these can jump past $1,000. Now here's the shocker, an error 1983. Kennedy half dollar with dramatic die doubling once stunned the auction world, hammering in at over $475,000. That's the kind of life-changing value hiding in plain sight. The real trick to identifying a potentially valuable 1983 is to look for strong detail in Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers. The sharper they appear, the better. Check for any doubling on "In God We Trust" or the date. And if you happen to see one with a missing mint mark or a visibly misaligned strike, you could be holding one of the most coveted half dollars from the decade. Just imagine. A coin that most people would overlook as pocket change could, in the right condition, buy you a luxury car, pay off your home, or fund your dream retirement. And this is just the beginning. The next coin in our list takes the rarity and the value to a whole new level, so don't blink, because you won't believe what comes next. Now let's step back in time to a coin that not only carries monetary value, but also deep historical weight, the 1968 Kennedy half dollar in fine condition. This was just the fourth year of the Kennedy series, created in honor of President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination in 1963, and by 1968, the nation was still feeling the ripples of that loss. But here's where things get truly fascinating. 1968 was the very first year the Kennedy half dollar bore the small S mint mark from San Francisco on proof coins, and for the general circulation pieces, only two mints produced them, Denver and San Francisco. That alone makes the 1968 date one of the most collectible early issues. This coin still has a secret most casual holders don't realize. It contains 40% silver. Yes, even though the U.S. Mint had reduced silver content after 1964, Kennedy, halves from 1965 through 1970, still held that precious metal, giving them both numismatic and intrinsic value. In fine condition, the luster may have softened and some of the hairlines on Kennedy's portrait might be worn, but the date, lettering, and overall integrity remain bold and clear. On the reverse, that proud heraldic eagle design still shows. Its shield and spread wings, even if time has smoothed some of the finer feather details. Now the values here can get eye-watering. A standard circulated example in fine condition might bring $6 to $12 just for its silver content. But collectors are willing to pay far more for pieces with strong strikes, clean surfaces, or unique minting errors. One known variety from 1968 is the double die obverse, where Liberty, or In God We Trust, appears with a ghost-like shadow. Those have crossed $15,000 at auction. And then there are the spectacular off-center strikes and clipped planchets that almost never surface from this year. One such extreme error shocked bidders when it sold for just over $520,000, all because it was both a minting mistake and an early Kennedy issue in remarkable condition. To spot a potentially rare 1968, check the mint mark carefully. If you have a proof coin with an S mint mark in pristine shape, you could be looking at hundreds of dollars. But if you stumble across an error piece or an uncirculated example with blinding original luster, the numbers climb sharply. The best specimens can command high six figures, enough to change your financial picture overnight. We're only 2 coins in, and the values are already soaring. But the next coin takes us into territory that makes even seasoned collectors sit up and take notice. And before we move on, if you're enjoying this journey through coin treasures, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the chance to learn about the rare piece that might be sitting right in your pocket. Our next coin might seem like just another pocket piece from the 1980s, but the 1985 Kennedy half-dollar in fine condition hides a story that could surprise even seasoned collectors. By this time, the U.S. Mint was producing Kennedy halves largely, for collectors and their circulation in everyday commerce had dropped dramatically. This means fewer were handled in daily transactions, but ironically, finding a truly original 1985 that has survived decades without heavy wear is much harder than it sounds. The obverse still features the sharp, noble profile of John F. Kennedy, with Liberty arcing over his head and the date 1985 below. On the reverse, that magnificent heraldic eagle spreads its wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch. The same enduring design that has symbolized strength and peace since the series began. In fine condition, the details are still clear, but the coin tells the story of its age with gentle wear on Kennedy's cheek, hairlines, and the eagle's breast feathers. Now here's where this date becomes fascinating. The 1985 half-dollar saw its lowest mintage in years for circulation, with fewer coins struck compared to earlier 1980s issues. But what really excites collectors are the error coins, and some from 1985 are nothing short of jaw-dropping. There are examples struck on the wrong planchet, including quarters or foreign coin blanks, that have sold for extraordinary sums. A famous 1985 Kennedy struck on a copper nickel-clad quarter planchet, missing part of the design due to the smaller size, stunned bidders when it crossed the auction block for $482,000. Even a simple off-center strike can command 4-figure prices if it's dramatic enough. For the everyday collector, a fine condition 1985 might bring $4 to $10. But step up to an uncirculated example with bright mint luster, and you're looking at $50 to $150. A deep cameo proof from this year, with flawless mirror-like fields, can push past $500. And then there are the rare high-grade top pop pieces, graded MS-68 or better. These are where you start talking in the tens of thousands of dollars. Pair that with an error variety, and suddenly you're looking at prices in the high 6 figures, enough to make anyone dig through their old coin jars in a hurry. The trick is knowing what to look for: a strong strike, clean surfaces, and any unusual features like missing lettering, doubled dies, or dramatic misalignments. If you find a 1985 that ticks all those boxes, you could be holding far more than just 50 cents. You could be holding a ticket to a collector's bidding war. We've already seen values climb into the hundreds of thousands, but our next coin? It has a reputation that makes even longtime numismatists catch their breath. This is where rarity and value collide in the most unexpected way. Now we come to a coin from the tail end of the 1980s, the 1989 Kennedy half-dollar in fine condition. At first glance, it might seem like just another modern issue, but this date has some surprises that have made it a quiet favorite among serious collectors. By 1989, the Kennedy half-dollar had long since disappeared from most people's pockets and cash registers. They were produced in far smaller quantities compared to the 1960s and early 70s, and much of the montage went directly to banks for limited distribution or into collector sets. That means truly original pieces that survived decades without damage are scarcer than many realize. The obverse still carries that dignified portrait of President Kennedy, his hair sculpted in fine detail, with Liberty arching above and 1989 proudly stamped below. The reverse continues with the powerful heraldic eagle, wings spread, arrows and olive branch clutched in its talons, a design that had by then become an American icon. In fine condition, you'll notice gentle wear along Kennedy's cheek, jawline and hair, with some smoothing of the eagle's breast feathers, yet the coin still retains a pleasing, honest look that appeals to collectors. Here's where things get really interesting. While a standard 1989 Kennedy half in fine condition might be worth just $4 to $8, certain varieties and minting errors from this year can skyrocket in value. One of the most famous is the dramatic double-struck example, where the design appears twice at different angles. These have been known to fetch over $25,000. But even that pales in comparison to the jaw-dropping wrong planche strikes from 1989, including one struck on a foreign silver coin blank, which sold for a staggering $510,000 at auction. That's right. Over $500,000 for a coin many people would overlook as just another piece of pocket change. High-grade, uncirculated 1989s with a flawless strike can push into the hundreds of dollars, especially if they carry the deep cameo-proof finish coveted by collectors. The key to spotting a potential treasure is paying attention to detail. Is the lettering crisp? Is there doubling on "In God We Trust"? Is the strike perfectly centered? Or does it show signs of a mint mishap? Any of these features can take your coin from pocket change to financial windfall. And here's something most people don't know. The 1989 Kennedy half-dollar marks one of the last years before the U.S. Mint shifted heavily toward producing coins almost entirely for collectors, making it a quiet milestone in the series. That subtle historical significance, combined with rare errors, is what drives the staggering prices for the most exceptional examples. We've now explored 4 incredible coins, each with the potential to deliver a shock to your wallet and your heart. But our final coin today is the one that has the power to stop you in your tracks. The kind of piece that leaves even expert collectors in stunned silence.